In just 41 seconds, Prince Harry went from sitting comfortably on Bill Maher's couch to storming off the set in absolute rage. What started as a conversation about privilege and accountability turned into one of the most explosive meltdowns ever caught on live television. The Duke of Sussex completely lost it. His face went red, his voice got louder and louder, and before anyone knew what was happening, he was being told to leave the building. This wasn't just an argument, this was a total character collapse. Before we get into this absolute disaster, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. We post daily videos exposing the royal family's darkest scandals. Hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss what we have coming next. Last night's episode of Real Time was supposed to be another typical Friday night show. Bill Maher had Prince Harry scheduled as his main guest, and everyone expected the usual soft interview where Harry would talk about his charity work, maybe mention his kids, and plug whatever project he's working on. But that's not what happened. Not even close. What unfolded on that stage was a complete train wreck that nobody saw coming. Harry walked out looking relaxed, waving to the audience with that practiced royal smile. He was wearing a casual blazer and jeans, trying to look like just a regular guy. He sat down on the couch, shook Maher's hand, and the crowd gave him warm applause. For the first couple of minutes, everything seemed fine. They talked about California weather, about how Harry was adjusting to American life, basic stuff that didn't mean anything. But then Maher shifted gears. He leaned back in his chair with that look he gets when he's about to say something controversial, and you could feel the energy in the studio change. Maher brought up Harry's constant public complaints about his family, about the media, about how hard his life has been. And that's when things started getting uncomfortable. "So, Harry," Maher said, "you've done multiple interviews, you wrote a book, you did a Netflix series, you've talked to Oprah. At what point do you think people might say, okay, we get it, your life was tough, but maybe it's time to move on?" The audience went quiet. Harry's smile faded just a little bit, but he tried to laugh it off. "Well, Bill, I think when you've experienced the kind of trauma I have, it's important to speak your truth and help others who might be going through similar situations." "Your truth," Maher repeated, and you could hear the skepticism in his voice. "See, that phrase bugs me. It's not your truth or my truth. There's just truth. And the truth is, you grew up in a palace. You had servants, you had money, you had everything most people dream about. I'm not saying your life was perfect, but come on, man. There are people working 3 jobs who can't feed their kids. Do you really think they want to hear a prince complain about how hard it was to be a prince?" Harry shifted in his seat. His jaw tightened. "That's a very simplistic way of looking at it, Bill. Money doesn't protect you from emotional abuse or losing your mother or being hunted by photographers every single day of your life." "No, it doesn't," Maher agreed. "But it sure as hell helps. Look, I'm sorry about your mom. That was a tragedy. But you've been dining out on that tragedy for years now. You've made millions talking about how horrible your family is, how terrible the institution is. But you kept the title, didn't you? You're still Duke of Sussex. If it's all so bad, why not just be Harry Wales and actually live like a normal person?" The audience started murmuring. Some people clapped. Harry's face was getting red. You could see him trying to control his temper, trying to stay composed, but it was slipping. "I kept the title because it's my birthright," Harry said, and his voice was getting harder, more defensive. "And I've used my platform to do good work, to help veterans, to support mental health causes." Sure, Maher said, waving his hand dismissively. "And that's great. But let's be honest here. You're not exactly working in a soup kitchen every day. You live in a mansion in Montecito. You make deals with streaming services worth millions. You fly private. And then you lecture regular people about climate change and social justice. Don't you see how that looks hypocritical?" "That's not fair," Harry shot back. "Just because I have money doesn't mean I can't advocate for important causes." "Of course you can advocate," Maher said. "But when you're preaching about carbon footprints from your private jet, when you're talking about inequality from your 16-bathroom house, people are going to call bullshit. And they should." Harry was fully agitated now. He was sitting forward, his hands were moving, his voice was getting louder. "You don't know what it's like to grow up in that system, Bill. You don't know what it's like to have your entire life controlled by people who don't care about you as a person. You're right, I don't know what that's like, Maher said. Because I grew up in New Jersey with a regular family, and I had to actually work for everything I got. I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't have palaces. I didn't have protection officers and royal weddings that cost millions of pounds. So forgive me if I don't feel too bad for the guy who had everything handed to him and still complains about it. The audience was fully engaged now. Some people were clapping, others were gasping. The tension in the room was thick. Harry looked like he was about to explode. Nothing was handed to me, Harry said through gritted teeth. I served in the military. I worked hard. You served in the military, and that's admirable, Maher said. I respect that. But let's not pretend you enlisted like some kid from Alabama who had no other options. You had every option in the world. And yes, you went to Afghanistan, and yes, you did your duty. But you also had security that regular soldiers didn't have. You had press blackouts to protect you. You had special treatment because of who you are. That's not true, Harry protested. I was treated like everyone else. Come on, Harry, that's just a lie, Maher said flatly. You weren't treated like everyone else and you know it. And that's fine. That's how it works when you're royalty. But don't sit here and try to convince us that you were just a regular soldier. You weren't. You were a prince who went to war, and there's a difference. Harry stood up from the couch. The audience gasped. He was visibly angry now. His face was completely red, his hands were shaking. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what I've been through. Maher didn't even flinch. He just looked up at Harry with that deadpan expression he's famous for. Sit down, Harry. You're not going to intimidate me by standing up. I'm not trying to intimidate you, Harry said, but he was still standing. I'm just tired of people like you who think you can judge my entire life when you know nothing about it. I know what you've told the world, Maher said. You're the one who went on Oprah and accused your family of racism. You're the one who wrote a book about how your brother physically attacked you. You're the one who told the world about your drug use and how many people you killed in Afghanistan. You put all of this out there, Harry. You made it public. So yeah, I'm going to comment on it. That's what happens when you sell your life story for profit. I didn't do it for profit, Harry insisted. Really? Maher laughed. So you're saying you didn't make money from your book? You didn't make money from the Netflix show? You did it all out of the goodness of your heart? Come on, man. At least be honest. I did it to tell my side of the story, because the media has lied about me for years, Harry said. And now he was yelling. The audience was completely silent, watching this unfold like a car crash. The media lied about you, Maher repeated. Okay, sure. Sometimes the media gets stuff wrong. But you've also admitted to doing drugs. You've admitted to partying. You wore a Nazi costume to a party. You got caught naked in Vegas. The media didn't make that stuff up, Harry. You did those things. And now you're mad because people reported on it? I was young and stupid, Harry said. Everyone makes mistakes. Absolutely, Maher agreed. Everyone makes mistakes. But not everyone goes on international television and blames everyone else for their mistakes. You want to be a victim so badly that you can't even take responsibility for your own actions. That's what bothers me about you, Harry. It's not that you had a hard life or that you've struggled. It's that you refuse to acknowledge that despite your struggles, you've still had an incredibly privileged existence that 99.9% of the world will never experience. Harry was pacing now, walking back and forth on the stage. You think privilege means I didn't suffer? You think having money means I didn't lose my mother when I was 12 years old? You think living in a palace means I wasn't abused? I think it means you had resources to deal with that trauma that most people don't have, Maher said calmly. I think it means you had access to the best therapists, the best education, the best opportunities. And I think instead of being grateful for those things, you've spent years complaining about how hard everything was. Grateful? Harry practically shouted. You want me to be grateful for being trapped in a system that killed my mother? You want me to be grateful for being followed by photographers my entire life? You want me to be grateful for being treated like a piece of property instead of a human being? I want you to have some perspective, Maher said, and his voice was getting sharper now too. I want you to realize that, yes, you've had some terrible things happen to you, but you've also had opportunities and privileges that people would kill for. And I want you to stop acting like you're the most oppressed person in the world when you're living in a mansion in California making millions of dollars." "Screw you, Bill," Harry said. And the audience gasped again. "You don't know anything about me or my life." "I know what you've told me," Maher fired back. "And frankly, the more you talk, the less sympathetic you become. You had the world's support when you left the royal family. People felt bad for you. They wanted you to succeed. But then you couldn't shut up. You kept going on TV. You kept attacking your family. You kept playing the victim. And people got tired of it." "I'm tired of it." Harry pointed at Maher. "You're just another person who wants to tear me down because it makes good television." "No, Harry. I'm calling you out because someone needs to," Maher said, standing up now too. "Everyone around you just tells you what you want to hear. Your wife tells you you're right. Your therapist tells you you're right. Your friends tell you you're right. But you're not right. You're a spoiled guy who can't handle the fact that life isn't perfect." "How dare you," Harry said, and he was shaking with rage. "How dare you say that about me?" "I dare because it's true," Maher said. "And deep down, you know it's true. That's why you're so angry right now. Because I'm saying what everyone else is thinking, but is too polite to say." Harry looked around the studio, at the audience, at the cameras, at the crew. Everyone was staring at him. He looked back at Maher, and you could see something break inside him. All the anger, all the defensiveness, it all came pouring out. "You know what? Forget this," Harry said. "I don't need to sit here and be insulted by some talk show host who thinks he knows everything." "Then leave," Maher said simply. "The door is right there." "Oh, I'm leaving," Harry said. "Don't worry about that." "Before you go," Maher said, "let me just say one more thing. You talk all the time about wanting privacy, about wanting to be left alone. But you can't have it both ways, Harry. You can't sell your story to the highest bidder and then complain when people have opinions about it. You can't go on Oprah and accuse your family of terrible things and then get mad when people question your version of events. You can't write a book detailing every private moment of your life and then say you value privacy. That's not how this works." "I'm done listening to this," Harry said, and he started walking toward the edge of the stage. "Yeah, that's what you do when people challenge you," Maher called after him. "You run away. You did it with your family, you did it with your country, and now you're doing it with me. You can't handle anyone disagreeing with you." Harry stopped and turned around. "You want to know why I left my family? You want to know why I left that country? Because they're all like you. They all think they know what's best for me. They all think they can control me. They all think I should just shut up and be grateful. Well, I'm not grateful. I'm angry. And I have every right to be angry." "You have every right to be angry," Maher agreed. "But anger without accountability is just entitlement. And that's all you've shown me tonight, Harry. Entitlement. You feel entitled to sympathy, entitled to millions of dollars, entitled to attack your family, entitled to live in luxury while preaching to others about how hard your life is. And when someone finally calls you on it, you throw a fit and storm off. That's not brave. That's not speaking your truth. That's just childish." "Forget you, Bill," Harry said. "Forget this show, forget this interview, forget all of it. Are you going to tell Oprah about this too?" Maher shouted as Harry walked away. "Are you going to do another interview about how I victimized you? Are you going to write another chapter about how mean I was?" Harry didn't respond. He just walked off the stage, past the cameras, and headed straight for the exit. The studio was completely silent for a moment. Maher watched him go, then turned back to the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke of Sussex," Maher said with heavy sarcasm. The audience didn't know whether to clap or not. Some people laughed nervously, but Harry was already gone. He pushed through the studio doors and disappeared down the hallway. Security followed him, trying to make sure he was okay, but he waved them off. He just wanted out of there. His handlers were scrambling, trying to figure out what just happened, trying to do damage control. But there was no controlling this. Backstage, you could hear Harry yelling. He was furious. He was throwing things. He was demanding to know who set him up, who knew this was going to be an ambush. But it wasn't an ambush. It was just Bill Maher being Bill Maher, asking the questions that a lot of people have been thinking but nobody wants to say out loud. Harry's security team got him into a car, and they drove away from the studio as fast as they could. He was still furious in the car, still yelling, still going on about how disrespectful the whole thing was, how he was blindsided, how he would never do anything like that again. But back in the studio, Maher was already moving on to his next segment. He made a few jokes about what happened, got some laughs from the audience, and continued with the show like nothing had happened. Because for him, it was just another Friday night. Another guest who couldn't handle being challenged. Another person who thought being famous meant they were above criticism. The whole confrontation lasted less than 20 minutes from start to finish. But in those 20 minutes, the world saw something that Harry's carefully crafted public image had been hiding. They saw someone who talks about accountability but can't accept any criticism. They saw someone who preaches about compassion but shows none to people who disagree with him. They saw someone who demands respect but won't give it to others. Harry came on that show expecting a friendly conversation. He expected softball questions and applause and validation. Instead, he got challenged. He got pushed. He got asked the hard questions that he's been avoiding in all his other interviews. And he couldn't handle it. He completely fell apart. The studio audience saw it. The television audience saw it. The world saw it. Prince Harry, the man who claims to be on a journey of healing and growth, showed everyone that he's still the same entitled guy he's always been. He just has better PR now. As Maher continued his show, making jokes and moving through his planned segments, Harry was miles away, probably already on the phone with his lawyers and publicists, trying to figure out how to spin this disaster. But there's no spinning it. The footage exists. The confrontation happened. And everyone saw exactly who Harry really is when someone finally stands up to him. Bill Maher didn't back down. He didn't apologize. He didn't soften his questions. He treated Harry like he would treat any other guest who came on his show with questionable positions and hypocritical statements. And Harry couldn't take it. He lost his cool completely, proving everything Maher had been saying about him. The door to the studio closed behind Harry as he left. And that was it. No handshake, no thank you, no professional goodbye. Just rage and entitlement and a dramatic exit that will be replayed over and over again. This wasn't how Harry wanted the night to go. He wanted to control the narrative like he always does. But Bill Maher doesn't let guests control the narrative. And Harry found that out the hard way. In just 41 seconds, Harry went from composed prince to angry man-child. And once you see someone lose control like that, you can't unsee it. That's what makes this so damaging. All the careful image management, all the sympathetic interviews, all the crying to Oprah, it all fell apart in less than half an hour on Bill Maher's show. Harry wanted to be seen as brave for speaking out. But bravery means facing criticism, accepting hard questions, and acknowledging when you might be wrong. What Harry showed tonight wasn't bravery. It was fragility. It was someone so wrapped up in his own narrative that he can't even consider that he might not be the hero of his own story. The confrontation ended with Harry walking out, but the impact will last much longer. Because now, people have seen behind the curtain. They've seen what happens when Harry doesn't get his way, when someone doesn't treat him like royalty, when he's asked to defend his actions instead of just being believed. And what they saw wasn't pretty. Maher sat back in his chair after Harry left, took a sip of his drink, and smiled at the audience. He'd made his point. He'd said what needed to be said. And Harry's reaction proved everything. You could see it on Maher's face. He knew exactly what had just happened. He'd gotten under Harry's skin, exposed the entitlement, and Harry had done the rest himself. The studio doors were still swinging from where Harry had pushed through them. The audience was still processing what they'd witnessed. And Bill Maher was already telling his next joke, moving forward, unbothered by the royal tantrum that had just unfolded on his stage. Harry stormed out of that building like a man who had been deeply wronged. But the truth is, he was just a man who finally met someone who wasn't afraid to challenge him. And he couldn't handle it. Not for 1 second.